This is deep. I'm going deeper. I don't want no more money, nothing, but I'm going deep, deep.
Welcome back to another edition of the Deep Dive Redemption Podcast. I am your host, Dwayne Adams, music fanatic extraordinaire and self proclaimed music doctor. Today, I am going to try something really different. Something that I didn't really think I was going to do when I decided to do this podcast, which, I like to tackle rare albums, albums that flopped critically, the ones that people just slept on because they were badly promoted. And I like to dig into those albums to try and find the good in them, to try and figure out why these albums flopped. But never have I considered checking out an album that I would never want to hear and that I can tell why it flopped. Like right, just looking at your cover, just knowing your concept, I could tell you why your album flopped. But that then produces a challenge for me, and I accepted this challenge. I really, really, really accepted it. So today, I'm going to touch on a controversial topic, and hopefully, you hear what I'm saying and not just try to pick apart my words to try and make this into something that it's not, because I'm only speaking facts and I'm only speaking on what I've experienced with my own ears and eyes growing up as a teenager in the 90s. So let's get into this, man. Let's get into an album that flopped commercially. It ended the legacy of this major pop group. Even though they came back, in the mid 2000s, 2008 or whatever, their impact has never been the same. But they're making money on tour, and it's a group that in elementary school and in high school, I just didn't like them. Knowing that all these girls loved them, that wasn't the problem. Yeah, okay, we kind of hated on them too. All of us kind of hated on them. That wasn't my problem with this group. My problem with this group was the reason they were created in the first place. I'm talking about New Kids on the Block. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That is what I am going to tackle today. I am going to tackle the last album that they did in 1994 when all the steam from that machine had run out and they needed something. They needed to make a comeback. And record labels at this time needed to give these guys a mature sound. And what they did was they gave them a chance to do a quote unquote urban album. Now, in the 90s, pop and R&B were completely separate. There was no fusion of the two. And this dates all the way back to the 50s when people like Chuck Berry, Bo Diddley, they were doing rock and roll way before Elvis was. But these record labels were very uneasy with the idea of white American fans throwing their money to a black star. Okay? They did not want, and the whole thing that comes along with groupies and celebrities also, especially rock and roll singers in the 50s and 60s. They did not want that. So they said, we should invest in our own Chuck Berry. We can find someone who could dance and play the guitar and sing the same kind of songs that they would sing, that black artists would sing. And that's how they found Elvis. You can thank that asshole Colonel Tom for that, but that's a whole different conspiracy thing that I will definitely post on my channel just in case people want a little bit of history behind Elvis and a little MK Ultra shit. But since the beginning, this has always been a thing where white record labels did not want to cross over and did not even want to mess with urban music. And I hate that term urban music, but I have to use it so that you understand the context of it. Not in advertising, as opposed to today, where you could see a commercial about Lysol and there's trap music. You see a commercial about any car and it's trap music. Back in the days, hip hop and R&B did not get anywhere close to any sort of um, advertising or television. They kept it contained. That's why we have BET. That's why we had Video Music Box. They did not want to fuse. They did not want to touch that kind of music. That's why they had to fight so long to get a black music video on MTV. The story behind that is really disgusting. They just figured white people aren't into it. We don't want to market that music. Get your own station, get your own thing. But when they started to see how many fans actually liked R&B and hip hop, well, they just couldn't allow these black artists to get rich and powerful like that. No way. We need to create our own. And it's been happening ever since then. I mean, let's look at Vanilla Ice, for example. Vanilla Ice had to counter Hammer because Hammer had black, white, Chinese, Indian, Russian, Arabic. He had the globe on lock. So they came up with Vanilla Ice because they figured, hey, we know how racism works. If we gave you a white version of Hammer, think about how many more fans we could reach out to, right? So that's facts, whether or not you like hearing that. That is the truth. And it goes even, let's jump back and forth through time. Let's look at Justin Timberlake. When he was part of NSYNC, NSYNC was strictly pop music. They did not cater to a black market. But once the Neptunes hit gold with like producing Britney Spears, and they saw that, oh, white fans could actually vibe to this, like the Neptune sound, and that wasn't a watered down song either. They didn't make it sound like a pop song. It sounds like something that they would have given Khalees. So once they saw that, then they said, "Oh, you know what? We're gonna let NSYNC do an album that sounds R&B ish, but we're gonna call it dirty pop. We don't want to give it that name R&B. We're gonna call it dirty pop. See if we can coin this phrase and start a little movement here." And then they had, the Neptunes produce one or two songs, and they had the R&B slow song "Gone" that I think was originally written for Michael Jackson for the Invincible album, if I'm not mistaken. And even after that, their solo albums, Justin Timberlake, what did they try to do with him? They try to make him the new Michael Jackson, a white Michael Jackson. But they can't come up with original dance moves and an original voice and original sound. They could only duplicate, right? Which is ironic because all the all the Neptune tracks on the first Justin Timberlake album were meant for Invincible, but Michael Jackson wanted an edgier Neptune sound that was more similar to Super Thug from Noriega. So they ended up giving all their tracks to Justin, which then gave him more of that Michael Jackson appeal. Some people don't even know that Pink, that grunge pop singer, rock singer, her first album was all R&B. And I think she was authentic with it. So now here's the thing. Some of these artists, now I'm not saying that everyone is a culture vulture. There are some artists who actually grew up on soul music and R&B, and they naturally have that gift and that talent. So those artists, the record labels don't know how to market them when it's authentic, which sucks. Um, I think they hit gold later on, obviously, with Justin Timberlake and then with Robin Thicke, but Robin Thicke fucked this shit up being a perv. Anyways, what happens there is with Pink, her album was done by what was those guys again? Soul Shock and Carlin, and I think Tim and Bob also did some tracks on that album, but it went nowhere. I can't even remember a single off of that album. And after that, they never looked back in that direction. They made it completely rock, to match her look, because she had a good voice, she had good songs, but she wasn't appealing to the black market because of her look. That's what I figured. And then you have other artists, like John B. John B is I don't see color. He's just an amazing artist and a great producer, a great writer, but he sounds too black, I guess, and they don't know how to market him because he won't do the pop songs that they want. They probably asked him to do EDM and all this kind of stuff, and he won't do it. It's not in him. He won't sell it. He won't sell out. So, going back to New Kids on the Block, they were created to counter New Edition. Straight from Boston, even their Hangin' Tough video looks very similar to If It Isn't Love. And this has been going on forever. So now when I see how they finally were able to just make tons of artists like this is by diluting pure R&B, diluting pure hip hop, and creating a fusion of trap music, alternative music, and then you have your Jack Harlows, you have your I don't even know, I'm not even keeping track of these guys. The dude with the colorful braids and all these pill popping dumbass rappers. I couldn't give a shit about them. Like, call me old if you want. I'm always in search of substance. I'll listen to some trap music as long as there's something that I can vibe to. Like, so give me some different melody. Give me some sort of lyric. Show me that you can actually rap. I don't want to hear about you killing ops and doing all this foolishness. But for some reason, that is the music that everyone gravitates to. So, because it doesn't require skill, and it doesn't, as a producer or as an MC, it's a very repetitive formula that anyone could duplicate. Look at TikTok. Look at all these dance. Like, I'm seeing moms, grandmothers, grandfathers doing these freaking dances. Uh, Real housewives. Women that probably own black slaves using hip hop slang, only dancing to trap music. It's very weird how times have changed, because when I was coming up, we were always called like the yos or the rappers, in high school. When a group of black people are walking by and then a group of white people walk by, they start walking like, all exaggerated, like pimps, and then going yo 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 yo. So that was basically calling us niggers. And you'd have metal heads on one side, hip hop heads on the other, and then guys that were just into dance music, or had no rhythm, no culture, no nothing. They just were racist because that's what they were taught. So when record labels started to use R&B music and hip hop music to try to get the not only the black dollar, but maintain and change the sound of their white artists. So now this brings me to an album that I refused to listen to when it came out because I knew what they were doing. I'm like, how is New Kids on the Block coming back super gangster all of a sudden? I was mad already that you were jacking all the New Edition moves, but still singing pop songs. Even Please Don't Go Girl. You go to Any Heartbreak and put on I'm Coming Home to You from New Edition, and that's where they got it from too. Like, how do you just come back like this? And nobody bought it. And even at this point in their career, people were questioning whether or not they were lip singing. They had all this doubt casted around them. Like, it was just crumbling. Everything was falling apart. Oh, and I guess I also have to mention Eminem, right? Eminem is one of the few who were able to adapt the culture and create a massive fan base and have respect from real hip hop heads. But I will say this: his greatness resonates. It's what keeps him going from those first two or three albums. But he hasn't been able to hold on and maintain and make great albums. Say, like, guys who've been in the game for so long, like Nas, Jay-Z, LL. LL made a solid 11 albums before he started sounding really whack. Eminem, I can't say he really maintained after three. Like, he crumbled, drugs, all that stuff. But for me to give you rankings, I don't give a damn about the color of your skin. I want to hear some good music and I want longevity. That's what I came up on. That's what I want. So